Joe Rogan. I brought this up. I'm going to put on my glasses here because I want to make sure I read everything accurately. Joe Rogan, famed podcaster and comedian. He's a damn good comedian, by the way. I've watched him perform stand-up. Recently stated on his show, The Joe Rogan Experience, that it is a quote-unquote fact the January 6th insurrection from 2021 was a false flag orchestrated by the federal government to take down Donald Trump. Rogan promoted his conspiracy theory, claiming that a Mr. Ray Epps, a pro-Trump rioter, was actually an undercover agent for the FBI who purposely incited MAGA supporters to storm the Capitol in an effort to damage then-President Donald Trump. I'm just reading from a report here. Earlier this month, Epps actually sued Fox News for defaming him with the, quote, fantastical story, end quote, that he was an undercover federal agent inciting violence in an effort to take down Trump and his supporters. So obviously, Mr. Ray Epps refutes what purportedly Fox News had claimed and clearly what Joe Rogan has claimed. On his show, The Joe Rogan Experience, Joe Rogan has repeatedly pushed quote-unquote unsubstantiated claims, according to this article, that federal law enforcement and intelligence agency used agent provocateurs such as Epps to manipulate the crowd to attack the Capitol. Reading from a quote from Joe Rogan, it says here, I think that every other person who was involved in January 6th, who was involved in coordinating a break-in into the Capitol and then instigating people, they were all arrested. This guy wasn't. He went on to assert, Joe Rogan went on to assert, not only that, but they were defending him in the New York Times, the Washington Post, all these different things saying Fox News has unjustly accused him of instigating when he clearly instigated. He did it on camera. I don't know if he was a Fed. I know a lot of people think he was a Fed. Then it goes on to say in past episodes, Rogan also claimed the intelligence community had a quote-unquote vested interest in this going sideways, and if somebody wanted to disparage a political party or have some sort of a justification for getting some influential person like Donald Trump offline, that would be the way that they would do it. Ladies and gentlemen, I have no clue what Joe Rogan is talking about. And by that I mean, I have no idea whether he's right or whether he's wrong. I'm not siding with him. I'm not saying he's all right, but I'm not summarily dismissing every and any syllable he echoes as conspiracy theories. I am a black man. Point of history that you might know. Malcolm X, there were people that accused him of having conspiracy theories about the government before he was assassinated. Dr. Martin Luther King, conspiracy theories about the government and the CIA and the FBI and them tapping his phones and all of that stuff. He was assassinated. In the years that followed, albeit devoid of concrete proof, enough circumstantial evidence came forward to add credence to arguments of conspiracy theories that involved our government. I am not saying any of it because I don't know. I don't know. What I get upset about is when people act like they do know, and that makes Joe Rogan ignorant. It makes Joe Rogan wrong. It makes Joe Rogan just an absolute fool. No. It makes him very, very suspicious because he knows what level of insidious behavior our government has been capable of in the past. Hell, we're looking at some things that are transpiring right now. Now, before I go any further, we all know I'm no damn supporter of Donald Trump. I don't even get into his policies. I think he's juvenile. I think he's petulant and petty. I think he is a renowned narcissist, the likes of which we may have never seen. He is so fixated on himself that you can't trust him. John Lewis, Representative John Lewis, the great John Lewis, who marched in Selma, who fought for black people all over the place, who put his life on the line. He passed away. This was an iconic figure in the black community. Donald Trump had no nice words for him. What was his reason? Well, he didn't have nice words about me. Couldn't even pay respects. running for the presidency. John McCain is somewhat critical of him before he passes away. And he's like, I'd rather support somebody who didn't get captured rather than John McCain, who was a prisoner of war and a hero in the eyes of many Americans. Trump was disrespectful towards him. I think he's juvenile. I think he's petty. And I think because he cares so much about his name and how he looks, he is not beyond lying on a daily basis. That's why I think the presidency is a statesman position. I had no problem with George W. Bush being president. I had very little problems with Ronald Reagan being president, beating Jimmy Carter, and then after that, Walter Mondale. George H.W. Bush, I hear a few things about his days when he was a senator prior to that being the head of the CIA. But I had no problem with George W. Bush. Had no problem with Bill Clinton. I even was on the record and saying I couldn't argue with Dick Cheney when a reporter came up to Dick Cheney and they said to Dick Cheney, hey, you know what? The American people, the polls show, blah, 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 blah. And Dick Cheney looked that reporter in the face and said, so? I actually admired the former vice president for that. I said, so what? I don't care. You elected us to lead. We're leading. This is not a popularity contest. Damn, I respected that answer. Because if I was elected president, I would give a damn about doing what is right. I wouldn't give a damn about polls and winning popularity contests. I say all of that to say I am not a person that looks at a political party and say, I don't want anything to do with you because of your party. I look at your policies. And in the case of the presidency, I look at statesmanship. Are you interested in bringing all people together? Are you interested in representing the interest of the United States of America instead of yourself? And I don't think Trump is that guy. Having said all of that, there are tens of millions of people in the United States of America who disagree with me. There are over 74 million people who validated that difference, who voted for him. And I contend that of the 80+ million who voted in favor of Joe Biden, 95% of them were voting against Trump, not for Biden. So having said all of that and understanding the times that we're living in and understanding how divisive our country is, Joe Rogan, y'all, he's the king. Brother got over 15 million followers on his show, subscribers. I mean, he's been doing it for a hell of a long time. And what I hope to accomplish in this position, owning and operating this show myself, is what he has already accomplished. Now, I might not agree with a lot of things that he say, and I certainly haven't delved deep enough to think about conspiracy theories, and I'm not going to, but guess what, ladies and gentlemen? I got news for you, newsflash. I don't think Donald Trump is fit for office. I don't think there's any way in hell he should be allowed to run for the presidency again. I hate the fact that he's the leading candidate. I hate the fact that Ron DeSantis has been so idiotic that there's no way he's going to catch Trump and there's no way he's going to get votes in a general election. I hate it. I hate the fact that we got to look at Trump possibly going up against Biden again. Absolutely, positively hate it. But let me tell you something. There's a lot of people who don't. And there's a lot of people who believe exactly what Joe Rogan stated. And if you want to knock him off in a general election, you better listen. You better listen to what the other side is thinking. You can't just summarily dismiss them and ignore them. That's the adversary. That's the opposition. You don't ignore it. You compete against it. That's what you do. And when you look at Joe Rogan, I got news for y'all. I'm not one of those people who believes that Donald Trump caused the insurrection. Those are grown-ass men and women that were there. I don't give a damn who you are. You can't convince me to bulldoze through barricades, run over law enforcement officials, damn near crush a cop through the swinging doors, break windows, kick in doors of our nation, of our U.S. Capitol. You can't convince me to do that. I don't give a damn who you are. Remember when Cat Williams sat up there and said about Barack Obama once he got elected, y'all just don't understand what it was. I mean, you just don't understand how it was. Barack Obama could have said anything. He could have said anything. And black folks everywhere would have done what he wanted. If he told everybody to go clean up trash, you would have had gangbangers out there, sitting up there. I don't think you want to drop that there today, my brother. Remember when Cat Williams joked about that? Doing his stand-up comedy? He was somewhat right, but somewhat embellishing. Because if Barack Obama had told thousands of people to roll up to the nation's capital and invade the capital, which he would never do because he's class personified and he'll always be my president in terms of statesmanship with his wonderful wife and wonderful family. Please understand, I believe the adults are responsible. Did Donald Trump fan the flames? Yes. Was he irresponsible? Yes. Was he pathetic? Yes. Was he slow to act and call in the National Guard and other help for elected officials once the Capitol was being stormed? Sure he did, in my opinion. Whether or not you can hold him culpable, that's a different matter altogether. I know they're trying. Former President Donald Trump indicted again for an unprecedented third time. This seems to be the most consequential due to the fact that new charges have to do with his effort to subvert the Democratic Republic itself. He's the only person named as a defendant. Special counsel Jack Smith unveiled his case, alleging that the former president broke several laws in his attempts to overturn the 2020 election with a grand jury indictment returned Tuesday that illustrated the depth and breadth of the federal criminal investigations. Prosecutors said in the new charging documents that he and 6 unindicted co-conspirators orchestrated a plot to overturn the results on and leading up to January 6, 2021. Trump has been summoned to appear before a magistrate judge on Thursday, which is tomorrow, on 4 charges. 1, conspiracy to defraud the United States. 2, conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding. 3, obstruction of an attempt to obstruct an official proceeding. And 4, conspiracy against rights. You have people like Joe Rogan and others that are disgusted by that. They think the Department of Justice is being politicized. They believe it's a witch hunt. And guess what? They have company. You know why? Because every time Donald Trump gets himself in trouble, more money is donated to his campaign. The lead widens between him and DeSantis and Nikki Haley and Chris Christie and Vice President Pence and Larry Elder and others. This is what it is. You're feeding the beast that is his machine. And by the way, he's using it to pay most of his legal fees, which has been in excess of $40 million. So the money that they're donating to his campaign, he's using it to pay his legal fees. Meanwhile, he shows up at these rallies or he ends up on television and he markets himself that way so he doesn't have to use those dollars or the dollars that he lost for his legal fees to pay for commercials. Joe Rogan apparently is somebody that believes it's all smoke and mirrors. Folks on that side of the aisle probably feel it's a concerted effort to manipulate the direction of the election. And by the way, they may not be wrong because in the end, at the end of the day, isn't what this really is all about? Or what really this is all about is preventing him from becoming the president of the United States again? Of course it is. If Donald Trump wasn't running for the presidency, chances are they'd have left him alone. If he'd went on his merry way, saying, I'm never running for office again, disappeared, Like Daniel Snyder, the former owner, the now former owner of the Washington Commanders, because once he had all of these salacious charges levied against him, the man left the country. We ain't seen him since. Who knows if Donald Trump would not have done that? But he stayed, and he's running for president again. And because he's running for president again, folks are trying to get him not to. That's what's going on. It's plain and simple. It's plain and simple. I understand that people want to get at Joe Rogan. And again, I'm not agreeing with him. I'm agreeing with his right to express that opinion, so long as he classifies it as an opinion. If you want to attack him for saying it's facts when it's not facts, apparently, because Ray Epps denied everything that he said and it's devoid of confirmation, fine. Because even Joe Rogan himself asserted he still doesn't know if Epps was actually working with the FBI, according to this article. But he has an audience. He has his own beliefs. And he's not afraid to state them. Doesn't mean you could just say anything. But when you've built the audience that he's built, there is a touch of credibility that comes with it that a lot of folks may not want to recognize. I recognize it. I don't agree with what he's saying in this particular instance about the insurrection on January 6th in 2021, but he's not alone. There's a whole bunch of people who feel that way. And trying to silence them only makes them louder. Someday we'll learn that. Someday we will.